Hello and welcome back to the official Scottish Rugby podcast. This week we have professional golfer Stephen Gallacher popping in, plus we hear from Scottish Rugby Chief Executive Mark Dodson. And we'll let you know how you and your rugby club can show your support for the national team of this Rugby World Cup with the launch of our Everyone's Game campaign. Well, we're here at Oriam. Scotland are here, they're out training just now, but I'm delighted to have, as always, Al Kellett by my side, but also Stephen Gallacher, professional golfer. Stephen, welcome to the podcast. You're the first non-rugby player to be on the podcast. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Just don't ask me anything about rugby and I'll be fine.
That's not true, Stephen. We've just been watching training. You're a rugby expert.
I love it, I must admit. To watch the 44 guys in there graft hard and trying to fight for places, that's what it's all about, and you can see they're ready just now for some games anyway, I'll tell you that.
And Mossy's missing from us because Mossy's currently over doing some work with the kickers, but I know you guys were talking about, I mean, there's probably not a skill in rugby that compares as easily to golf as the kicking does. You know, it's an individual skill. He was talking about the follow through. You guys were having deep in-depth chats about how you can make sure you get that consistency into the game. Can you see that from what Chris did as well?
Yeah, definitely. The kicking, I can see that with golf. You know, you've only got one shot at it. It means quite a lot sometimes. There's a pressure element, there's skill. You've got to read the wind, you've got to read the elements and stuff like that. Plus, when you get down to the technical side where the hips are pointing, you know, it was good to speak to Chris about that, and where your balance is and routine, all very similar to golf.
So that's the issue with my golf swing, obviously, Jamie. My hips are pointing in the wrong direction.
It's the boys, obviously, they're huge fans of the game, Stephen. They were up, obviously, St Andrews last week. We were there, and a few of the boys played on the old course. But you had a chance to play with any of the squad. I think Hoggy's mentioned you before in the podcast and a few other times. But have you had a chance to get in the course with any of the boys?
I've not played with them actually, no. But I've done quite a bit with Hoggy and Finn for my junior foundation. I know Gregor well, and I've known Doddy for a while, and it's just, you know, golf and rugby sort of, they tie in together. I think sportsmen love playing other sport, love talking about other sports, and certainly in the rugby fraternity there's hundreds of people always playing, and I've played with a lot of guys, and you know, we've got that in common, and it's just a great bond to have with each other, and that's why I love coming to watch them play, and then they come and watch the golf.
Part of the reason you're in today, Stephen, is that you and I are going to have a chat to the players tonight about some of your experiences. We were talking earlier on about the Ryder Cup and other. You mentioned the Sevi Cup,
Sevi Trophy, yeah,
Sevi Trophy, Europa Cup as well.
Yeah.
You said,
yeah,
those are the team events you've been involved in quite a lot, where you going from being an individual sportsman to being part of a team. That must be an interesting transition, an interesting few days as you build that team.
Yeah, well, you only really done that at amateur level. There was a lot of team sports when you're growing up. Played for Scottish boys, represented Britain at boys, youth and men's level, and then, you know, my 23 years on tour, I've probably only played 5 team sports. You know, so you sort of lose the track of the camaraderie, the banter, like what you're seeing today, playing jokes, and just that's what it's all about, team building. And you know, ultimately we're individuals that come together, even in this sport. You know, they're 15 individuals, but being cohesive as a team, that's the real sort of thing that Gregor's job and the sport, the team have to do. And for us, it's so different. You know, you're used to playing your own game, and then you're by your side, and then all of a sudden you've got a partner. So you need to really get on with the aim, and there's a lot of strategy involved when you're in team games, and who to play with who, and who gets on with who, and who shares with who, and it's just seeing the dynamic on a grander scale like the rugby squads. It's very interesting for me.
What about your caddy? Go back to kind of when you're playing individual tournaments. How close are you in that team? I mean, are you going out there and you're leaning heavily on your caddy on the good times and the bad times, or do you focus purely on yourself?
I think the caddy's there to sort of read your sort of how to read you more than anything. Know when to speak up, know when to be quiet, know when to give you your water, your food, talk strategy, you know, be a bit bolder, or you can lean on them, you know, if you're looking for stuff. But I can't do too much of that. It's my son that caddies for me now, and my wife gets on to me, you know what I mean? So I call canny now with my caddy. So yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I spend so much time with my son now. You know, you spend more time with him probably than I do with my wife, and I've got a very understanding Helen and my daughter Ellie. You know, they don't mind me and my son travelling and working together.
That must be a nice part of it.
Oh, it's awesome, mate. I mean, I'm travelling the world with my son, who's, you know, one of your close best pals. He's pulling for you. You're trying to do well for him, and it was sort of. I was needing a caddy, and my son wasn't really liking school. And 17, I thought to myself, you know what? Why don't I try and get him to caddy for me?
Good
he's
golfer in his own
yeah,
right,
he plays
or?
off one. He travelled the world with me before, and it was more the physical element. He's carrying 20 odd kilos around a course for 5 miles, 8 miles a day, but he's been in the gym, in fairness, and he's sort of reinvigorated me at a slightly older age, just nearly the same age as you, and having the youth in with different ideas to modernise it up, when you see guys out in the Orium today, you've got your number cruncher guys that are looking at stats, and you've got your physical side, and basically that the caddies, all of them rolled into one, and that's how important it is.
If he's giving you a bit of cheek, do you slip a few extra litres of water into the bottom of the bag for the carry around? Or?
Absolutely, a couple of extra jackets, a couple of bricks, or I just tell his mum and she gets on him. It's easy, isn't it?
Well, nothing changes, does it? Doesn't matter.
Was it back in the day? I don't know if it's still the same, Stephen, but 10% usually was what the caddy would get, depending on winnings.
Was it much
I did actually
there?
pay him 10%. To be honest, you know what? I said that at the start. I said, listen, if we're going to do it, we do it properly, and I treat it as he's just the same as having another caddy. Obviously I can't, but as I said to him, I said I'd rather make him work for it. He's going to get it in the end anyway, so he may as well work hard for it, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's been great, and I said to him, he's away probably 25 weeks a year now, so his life's changed. He doesn't play a lot of golf. He gets a chance to go to the rugby and the football, which he loves, his passions, and he's delighted. He's happy as Larry.
So what's your son's name, Stephen?
Jack.
I will look out for Jack at the games over the summer.
You obviously, you mentioned you do a lot of travelling. Then, what are some of the top courses or your favourite courses you get to play, Stephen?
Well, I've been thankful enough. I obviously play at Kingsfield every day, which is one of the best courses in the sort of Lothians.
You better say that because he's sitting next to you.
My best mate behind me who owns it sitting here. So I've also been blessed. I've played the Masters, I've played Augusta, I've played 4 Opens at St Andrews, like where you guys were last week, and I find it really hard to go outside Scotland. I think we've got some of the best and most diverse courses in the world. Probably one of my favourites is Royal Melbourne down in Australia. An unbelievable golf course, designed by a Scot, of course. So what do you expect? Same guy that designed Augusta. But I've travelled. Golf's taken me to South America, Australia, Africa, China, Russia, all over, and rugby's getting like that now. Global game. You see America coming in, Georgia coming in, Japan. It's not just the Southern Hemisphere anymore now. There's people, Spain, Portugal. They're coming in all over, and that's just what technology, what different coaching, and it sort of brings, and rugby's going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that in golf as well. Sorry, Al, but that kind of the evolution. There's been a number of rule changes as well in the past of golf. How's that affected you, or how you've managed to adapt to these new changes? Do you welcome it? Was it something?
Yeah, I think generally 99% of them are common sense and trying to make it quicker. Golf's sort of the albatross around the golf's neck just now is how long it takes to play, and everything's sort of geared up to try and make it quicker for the player. And we're not the only sport, Formula 1, tennis, rugby bring in different sports, bring in different rules, and they're all generally to either help safety or for to make it quicker, make the game of golf simpler. Golf's got far too many rules and sub-rules and stuff like that. The more you can sort of make it more common sense, the better for the game.
What about so you mentioned cricket there for 2020. Rugby at sevens is taking off globally, massively. 10 different countries. The guys on the sevens circuit now, and it's bringing in new audiences. What would you do in golf? Is there anything you would do in particular that you think would help, shorten that game, make it more entertaining?
Well, the European tour have brought in a few things. They brought in the golf sixes, which is the equivalent. I played in that this year with Davy Law down in Portugal, and it's basically a sprint. It's a 2-man team. We played for Scotland, and it's just 6 holes. You play against another team, and whoever's winning after the 6th knockout.
And how do you enjoy that?
I do. Aspect? Yeah, well, it's totally different, but it's you're round in an hour. Yeah, you play another team in the afternoon, in the lunchtime, then you play another one. So you're playing 18 holes, but it's only really taking 3 hours. That's your 2020 for us. You do match play. We've got a couple of different formats. We don't play it a lot though. Your match play side, which is pure knockout. That only happens kind of once a year. We've got the great thing with us now as well, we are integrating women and men's in the same events, which can bring to a different audience. Yeah. And we've got obviously we've got different tours. We've got seniors golf. So I can see where rugby, the sevens, is a brilliant game. I love watching it as well. It's Hong Kong, Dubai, they're brilliant. It's so fast and it's like a different game. But golf's got its challenges. It's like the cricket, it's a 4-day game and it's over 4 days.
Yeah.
It's not 80 minutes. It's not. So as to change really, like cricket, the test, I've just watched the Ashes there now, and you can't beat the Ashes. You can't beat the 5-day. You can't beat the 4-round golf. You can't beat a test match at rugby over 80 minutes. But like you say, how do you get new people involved? Sevens is brilliant. It's a fast way of getting in the door. Sixes at golf's a good way of getting in the door just to see how they like it. And the RNA this year changed the rule that you can play a 9 holes medal now to keep your handicap, which is brilliant. Another way that someone that can't give 4.5 hours of their day, where you can go around in under 2 hours. So that's why Roberts Place at Kingsfield is blossoming, because guys can keep their handicap in three rounds, 27 holes.
And before we go on and talk a wee bit about the World Cup, because I know you've got you're an interested spectator, maybe even picking one of the summer tests over the next month or so. I want to chat to you a wee bit about your foundation. I know you do a huge amount of work in Scotland, and part of that is to make sure that there's enough people, young kids, picking up the golf clubs, but also making sure that you're using what golf's given you to put a wee bit back in.
I think I sort of, it was the reason I wanted to have a foundation. It was sort of being with Paul Laurie and endless amount of killing time in hotel rooms, and he was doing it. He's now 17 years, I think, and I just said, you know what, we're so blessed to travel the world, like I said earlier on, and competing. It's not really a job, we're doing something that we love, and you just want to, I think that it's important to give back. So I started my foundation 2012, and we're now we go into primary schools and take kids out of primary at P5, 6 and 7, take them to the driving range and PGA one-to-one coaching from the onset. And all I'm trying to do is I don't want any children to have an excuse not to try golf. It becomes people say it's an elitist game, and I'm saying, well, it's not really.
Brilliant.
I've not got any clubs. Well, I've got clubs, so I've nowhere to get there. I'll pick you up in a van. There's nobody to teach me. I've no shoes. Well, we've got all of that. So it's a case of, and all I want out of this is just more people playing golf.
Yeah.
And put events on for certain kids, flag events. We sponsor the elite kids at under 18 level. We help assistants out. It's not just and in fact the Scotland under 18s boys team, there's 4 kids that have played in our foundation from the start that are in the team now. But that's not the thing I look at. I'm not there to make champions. I'm there to try and get as many kids as I can playing, and then that makes the golf clubs better, because more kids join them, and it just keeps the cycle of golf going in Scotland, and we want more people playing, and that's all I'm trying to do.
Brilliant. I mean, that sounds incredibly rewarding. I heard Ryan Wilson chinning you earlier on about getting Jackson, his 5-year-old into to play some golf as well. Absolutely.
I mean, he was asking me when's the right time, and I'm saying right now. If he's shown any interest at all, get him a little club, give him a few balls, and get him some pointers, and get him down the local club. Like you said, you'll take him down with your boy down the local club.
Ryan and I live very close to each other, and we've got our boys are similar ages, so we'll be getting them down to the local club. Chris Patterson has joined us. We should just get him straight in, fresh from coaching our best kickers. Mossy, how was the session?
You got the heating on in here,
I know, it's warm in here.
Good, all good. Just a unit session. At the end of kind of half day, even a long half day as it is, running late.
It's 5:10.
So just working with the goal kickers, just a couple of challenges, and it's important that the closer you get to the games, the more you kind of make it competitive with each other. So I had a good wee session.
We were chatting a wee bit with Stephen earlier on about the fact that you guys were talking around the similarities between the goal kicking and the golf, and the getting the hips through. Apparently that's my issue, both in the goal kicking and the golf.
I think you're a better goal kicker than you're a golfer. He was a better goal kicker. Taking it back to 2003-04 maybe. Edinburgh Rugby had an internal goal kicking competition. The 2 finalists were C. Patterson and A. Kellock.
That's right, right.
Yeah, did it? It's true.
Who won? Can you remember?
Aye.
I can't.
No, but there are a lot of similarities, and it's good having a crack with Stevie about just the kind of, not only the psychological side of it, but the technical side of it as well, and can share a lot of similar views on the technical aspect. Has to be really, really strong, and then that's supplemented by the psychological aspect of it. So Certainly when I kicked, it was a lot of physical things that I tried to control, that I knew if they were the same every time, then you knew kind of what the outcome was going to be. And then when the pressure comes on and the situations change, whether it's a kick to win the match or your first kick of the match, then to take a lot of the psychological pressure off, I just went to the technical things that I could feel as if I could control, whether it was which part of the ball I was looking at, what my left arm did, how quickly I hit the ball, where my hips pointed after the ball left my foot. So didn't all go over, but it helps.
Stu, you were telling us earlier on about your theory. Is the best psychologist in golf in the world is
Bob Rotella.
Right.
He's wrote countless number of books, and he plays off 13. So,
so it can't all be in the head.
Well, if that's my argument is, if it's all psychological, how's he know the world's number one?
Yeah, true.
You know, you need a bit of, like I was saying to Chris, it's hard to, you know, he's working with the top kickers there. I watched them, you know, even Hastings, he's 86%, and you're thinking, wow, these guys are unbelievable. And then you look at Greg and you think, but the thing I was saying to Chris, which intrigued me, is you can never sort of, you can't teach pressure. But the more Chris is doing, he's showing us these sort of drills he's doing with the guys and that, and it is every kick has a meaning, or it has a sort of, even if it's to beat the other guy that's kicking, and like you say, once they get on the park, all they're doing is just going through their routine and just kicking it.
The difficulty comes when, well, there's loads of difficulties in the game, but a difficulty that not a lot of people appreciate is if you're trying to find your setup, you're trying to find your routine, but what's happened in the seconds or minutes before have a massive effect. Like, you could be absolutely exhausted, there could have been a 3-minute phase of play, you could have picked up a dead leg, you could have scored a try and your emotions through the ceiling. Like, how do you get back to that kind of equilibrium to start your process? So
that's when you'd have let Big Al kick it though, eh?
Well,
if you had a dead leg or that, got in Edinburgh number 2 in.
You never chucked me the ball in a game.
I think if I had 2 dead legs, I'd still fancy myself. There's not a lot of dead to get on my leg, to be honest. There wasn't a lot of muscle in these things, but yeah, it's just finding that moment, and everybody's different, aren't they? Like, some people just thrive in the pressure, some people don't like the pressure, some people just completely shut it off. It's each to their own, and that's the beauty about, I suppose, certainly the golfers and working with the guys at the kickers. It's a totally individual
I must admit,
thing.
I'm getting worse for sort of bounce games.
Aye.
I think I need, you know, but I'd rather play in front of a big crowd than sort of, I think it just gets you that adrenaline up, and it gets to sort of focus the mind. When you're playing a bounce game, you know,
I can get that.
I'm not really brilliant at it, I must admit, but
chain yourself into bad habits potentially at times.
I think you do. You just go through the motions, whereas I need almost the more I get a bit older, I'd rather just play competitive and just tick over.
It's quite funny, like similar, like in a game situation, you're totally focused. Well, certainly when I played, would shut off the crowd. I'd got my technical things, but I remember training on the main pitch at Murrayfield on a day off, and there was one person watching, and it was Clive Woodward came up one of the years he was coaching the Lions, and he was just like, I think he was on the phone, he wasn't even watching me, he just happened to be in the ball when I was kicking, and all I could think about was this one person watching.
Yeah, you can get that, yeah.
I know, like, there's 70,000 folk here, it doesn't cross your mind, but there's one person on the phone on the other side of the pitch, you think, because you know, like, is he here to watch me or what's happening? And I found that harder than dealing with the place full.
What about the golf, Mossy? If you play in a few corporate events and pro-ams, if you get it's Chris Patterson on the tee, do you get the nerves, or can you be able to shut that out because of all the kicking you've done?
I don't play in that many, to be honest, but I see golf as fun. Like, I played a lot of golf as a kid, and I just see it as real fun. So the fear of hitting a bad shot isn't a consequence for me. Like, so I don't really get that nervous because I just enjoy it. So if it's a bad one, you can laugh it off. Now, I suggest you take that route, Stevie.
No, well,
but
I mean,
like, the consequences kind of, and for you, it's playing for fun. What's the matter if it goes wrong?
So I played one a couple of weeks ago at Celtic Manor, and it was one of those ones. It was a decent amount of people around the first green, like a couple hundred, and I announced onto a tee, and I wasn't nervous. It wasn't nerves that made me lose the ball on the right. It was just being a bad golfer. I'm trying to explain that to people. Oh, you must have been really nervous.
Do you guys use, you know, will Gregor use golf as a sort of team building thing? If guys go and want to play, they can go and play, and sort of. The
players do kind of naturally, because it's a sport that they love. So last week the Wednesday was off, so they did a bit of cricket in Ely Beach, and then a few of the guys were out playing golf, and yeah, it's just a good way of switching off. Like, I don't know where it's the same for you. I mean, our guys will use it as a way of switching off, but it's your job, isn't it? So
I think the thing for, if somebody said to me, you know, you need to switch off, it would be either watching a sport or music.
Yeah.
And watching a sport you like, rugby, or I can go to a game or a football game and you don't touch your phone, you don't do anything, you just get into it. And it's the same with music, and it's the same, and you have to have a switch off if you're playing at a high level, which is so intense, in the mind. You got to switch off.
I think that's, you mentioned golf's fun. I'm like that with my golf as well. Maybe why I'm not very
I'm
good.
like that when I play rugby though, man. It's good for me, isn't it? I actually done a bit of kicking. Me and Robert, I was doing for one of my foundation things. It was a hit or a miss.
That's right.
For the dinner at night.
I remember.
And I
seeing
came to Scottstown, and I've turned up with a pair of jeans on, and I thought it was kicking McGregor, and then Gregor goes, no, just get Finn and Hoggy back, they'll do it. And I'm like, oh no. But I'd actually, because you've not got any yet, but I actually went onto YouTube, right, the day before, because I didn't want to make a complete fool of myself, and I watched Dave Allred's kicking class, master class, right. So I'm coming to Scottstown for 11. Me and Rab are down the local cricket pit, the local rugby park. We got permission to go in. We've got two different types of tees just to see what one suited me, and I figured this one that I could get it over the best. So I turn up at Scottstown, and Gregor goes, "You've not got any boots here, take my boots." So I'm standing with Gregor's boots on, Hoggy and Finn Russell, and I never missed.
Pair of jeans off.
I never missed for the 22.
It's because you get your hips through.
I got my hips through.
That's the key.
And then Hoggy was showing off. He's doing it for 65 metres.
Of course he was.
And it was a brilliant day. But when you see, I mean, I stuck to the 22, and that would have done me, and that will do me. But it's just, I think any sportsman in that, you want to be a half decent level.
Yeah.
But watching these boys whipping it through from everywhere was impressive.
I think the boys as well, there's still a real competitiveness within the camp. So when they go and play golf, they're playing for fun, but they're also playing to beat each other as well. So like it was Greg, Laidlaw, Ryan Wilson, Hoggy and Finn all went out last week and played a course, and Xander went out and played the old course. Now it starts off a bit of fun, but they're playing to win. Like that, it's the competitive nature around the squad, and that's something that Gregor instills in the boys to be competitive.
Mike Blair's got a brilliant idea on this. He said it to his brothers. He's one of 4 brothers, and used to play like 4 balls as kids. And you know that awkward length of putt that you're not sure if it's a gimme or not to somebody when you're playing with each other. They used to go. I think it was like a 2 metre bit of string or a 3 metre bit of string they'd have, and that was the length of gimmies you were allowed in your round. So like it was, everybody would have to putt out unless you used your bit of string, and they'd have a pair of scissors. So if you had a 3 metre putt, that was you used up your 3 metre, or you could have like kind of 50 centimetres, whatever, 2-3 foot, and you could cut your bit of string. So every time you use the length of string,
you would lose.
You cut it. So it takes away that kind of competitive cheating
That's
element.
That's
good,
classic,
isn't it?
Mike,
So take a 3 metre bit of string.
Yes.
There's no arguments or fallouts over if that a gimme or no.
Are you good for giving gimmies, Stevie? Or do you like to play?
Depends if the guy's nervous or not. Sometimes it's nice to see one of your pals squirming every now and then, and equally so if I miss it, I just say I meant it. So, but no, I generally, when we're socially, you're giving it. And
but what about the competitive ones? What about when you're playing against some of these biggest games you've ever played in, and the match play stuff?
It can be a wee bit of gamesmanship in there every now and then. Did you not hear me? I gave you that. Sorry, mate. But like everything else, isn't it? You expect to hold it, but there's a wee bit of gamesmanship. Only in match play though. When you're playing the sort of stroke play, you're just playing the course.
It's got to be.
Unless you've got a 3-shot lead, and then you change your game plan or your routine, whatever. Pretty much same here. If you've got a big lead with a couple of minutes to go, you're not wanting. You can try and keep the ball.
Are you leaving the pin in these days, or are you?
No, I'm old school.
Yeah, taking it out.
I can't get myself to leave it in.
Make Jack work for a living. Get that pin, son.
Exactly.
Good.
Stephen, obviously we're here. Yeah, at Oriam, the rugby is the main focus, and you're a big rugby fan. We can see that from the way you're talking and the enjoyment you get from the game. 2 parts to this. When did that enjoyment start for you? Was it an early age, just going along to see the games? Did you play when you were younger? And how much are you looking forward to the World Cup in Japan?
Unfortunately, I didn't get rugby at school. I was a football and more football at school. So, and I played in goals purely because I was the tallest, I could kick it the furthest, and I was the fattest. So it was harder to score. That was the criteria at my school. And I didn't really get into it until I moved down to Linlithgow, and my pal Robert, who's got the driving range, I used to go and watch him. And that's what got me into it. And my friends, I've got a bit of an affinity with Munster because I've got pals over and a family over in Middleton, Cork, and I used to go when I played over there, I watched a few Lions tests over there, and with a Kiwi, Jason Holland, who was a good mate of mine.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Dutchy,
played
you know.
centre for months.
Yeah,
he's coaching now.
He's down at. He was at Crusaders.
Crusaders, aye.
He's a top lad, so I used to watch
right,
a lot of games over there, and then that just got the bug. I went over to the Munster All Blacks. I've been at some Glasgow games, Edinburgh now as well, who are playing great. And I was gutted against the Ulster game last year when they had a chance and it just never fell for them. But I'm can't wait for the World Cup. I think it's a good time to play Ireland the first game. I think anything can happen. We've seen it before, and we've played well against them the last couple of seasons. So I think if we can come through the tests unscathed with our best players and intact, I think we'll give them a right good game. And then obviously there's no really bad teams. There's not. They're all getting much better these days. The Southerners, Russia, Japan. That'll be a tough one with their home crowd as well. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And I'll be in different countries watching it at different times, and
different time zones,
in different time zones and whatnot. So it's great. I'm really looking forward to it, and it gives me whets my appetite even more when you watch them. Come and watch them train. You get a feel for it. You can you watch them. They're grafting like mad, and I feel sorry for the guys that don't get there, but hopefully they'll come back stronger from it.
And you're here tonight to do just chat to the boys about the presentation. What's the kind of theme of your presentation, and what do you want to get out of it?
Doesn't know yet.
Well, I'm doing a Q&A with Big Al here, so you're only as good as the guy asking you the questions.
Really?
So
no pressure.
If I'm murder, it's him. It's easy. So yeah, just Gregor asked us if I would come and just do a Q&A with the guys. It's just something different. I can just give them what it felt like for me to represent my country and represent my continent, really. And some guys have done it here, some guys are going to do it for the first time, and it's just a bit of fun and something different for them to kill an hour, I'm sure.
You'll get some decent questions. No for Al.
Off the floor. We'll do that.
From Mossy there.
We'll do that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll ask it to we'll ask it out to the punters. Yeah.
Nah, it's good. There'll be so many insightful questions about the dealing with pressure and the pride and the kind of level of expertise, as well as there'll be a few Ryan Wilson jokes in there, I'd imagine. You'll handle that.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Stephen, it's been brilliant having you here at Oriam. Best luck when you get golfing again, and we'll get you back on soon, I'm sure.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Stevie.
Brilliant to bring in somebody like Stephen Gallacher from a different world, different sport. Clearly loves his rugby. You guys know him quite well. Great to have him on the podcast, wasn't it?
It was great. It was also great. Mossy and I were chatting to him over at the side of the park, and he just wants knowledge. He's chatting about Mossy about we were chatting about it earlier about the kicking, but he's looking at what Kelly's doing or Mike Blair's doing or the drills that Gregor's doing. He's just constantly, and he sees it through an elite sportsman's set of eyes. He's obviously done it exceptionally well in the game. Really interesting what he was saying about his son caddying for him. That would be an incredible experience. Travel the world with your son. I wonder if they have caddy to golfer arguments or father to son arguments, or a bit of both, but it must be brilliant to be able to travel the world with his boy.
Yeah, and he's been so successful as well, hasn't he? And I said to him over there as well, this year at the Open, he was on the radio doing analysis and commentary. He was brilliant at that as well, to give an insight, really natural to it, and he's been so successful as a golfer and just a football fan, a rugby fan, a sports fan, and so easy to chat with. And you think of what he's achieved and what he's probably going to go on to achieve in the world of golf, just to sit here with us and have the ability and the knowledge to talk as well as he did about rugby, but also just the manner of the man. It was brilliant.
Yes.
He was genuinely interested in
Yep.
the reasons why the players were doing different bits and pieces. I think A, as a fan, but B, as you say, a sportsman looking for an edge.
It was interesting. I was chatting to me about his 5 Live stuff as well, and how much he enjoyed it. He could potentially be a guest host for us. We could maybe, Jamie, I don't know what you're doing over the next 6 months, but say you're busy with Stevie.
I'm caddying.
We're playing golf. No, it's good, but yeah, and he's got to share his insights and with the squad. The squad are together so often, aren't they? They get quite often now. You invite different people in and different guests, be it sports people or non-sporting people, and the players really enjoy the opportunity to ask questions, to learn themselves, and just to have a fairly informal chat at times with people in the public eye.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting is speaking to somebody who is predominantly in a solo sport. It's not a team sport that we Gregor, the culture are building around that team and making the cohesion. But when it's just one person, it's a different mindset, isn't it? I mean, I think
to be like, he's clearly incredibly driven, but then so would everybody down there be, every member of the squad. I think that the way I see it differently is that you can share the good times and the bad. I think being an individual sportsman or woman, you could be incredibly isolated at times, but actually now, and I'm making that point about the caddies, like a lot of these people who you would perceive to be individual sports people, they've got a team around about them. It's more the moment. It's I've got a 10-foot putt here to get the point in the Ryder Cup or to win the Open. I think that would be the hardest point, but our guys will have moments like that as well. Most you talk about the kicking, the line out throwing as well. Individual mistakes in a game where you feel as if there's 67,500 people's eyes on you and the rest of whoever's watching on the telly. You get those moments in team sports as well.
You can feel lonely on the pitch, even though you've got 15 or 14 teammates. There are kind of lonely moments, but I suppose golfers, tennis players, they prepare as a team, but then they perform as an individual in some ways, because it is all on them, which, depending on your personality, can be a real strength or a weakness. And I think obviously Stevie's strength is that you want to be that person who performs. Most of the goal kickers in the world want to be the person who gets the opportunity to kick the goal in the last minute. They don't fear it. They're desperate for it to be handed to them. So, but the beauty about rugby is that you incorporate all those mindsets and all those skill sets and shape it together to be a successful team. But on the field, you've got teammates. I suppose on the course, as a golfer, you prepare as a team, but you perform as an individual.
Yeah, I think team sports now, and there's a lot of books been written about it, but it's the environment, it's a culture you create off the field that's massively important. Like, you don't need to not everybody in our squad will get on with each other. You don't need to be best mates with everybody else that's involved, but you need to be able to work together to get the best out of yourself, and the best out of the team. Potentially, as an individual sport, you take some of that element away. There's less interaction with the teammates or opposition. Although then to throw, he was talking about it quite candidly. Did he get thrown into his team events? He enjoys it. He enjoys the element of building that team as well.
I obviously missed the start, but did he ask him about the kind of interaction between him and the other people he's playing with on in an Open or in a Masters? Or
not so much. We more talked about the team element.
I've often wondered, like, do they chat to each other, or they're in their own zone, or do they help each other along, or do they try and put each other off? I don't know.
I think that's turning a little bit right to left.
Exactly.
And then wink at them.
Interesting.
This year, we are encouraging rugby clubs all over the country to run events during Scotland's Rugby World Cup 2019 fixtures to engage with their local community and using the international stage to inspire new and existing members. This is your chance to raise the profile of your club and show your support for Scotland. Visit scottishrugby.org for more details. Delighted now to be joined by Mark Dodson, the Chief Executive of Scottish Rugby. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Hi Jamie, how are you?
You're very well, thank you, very well. Just want to quickly chat to you about the AGM, the Annual General Meeting tomorrow at BT Murrayfield. It's a great opportunity for us to meet clubs, but when you look back in the year, Mark, what kind of stands out for you? What are you most proud of?
I think I'm proud of the way the nation is getting behind the Scotland team. And if you look at, the sellouts that we've had again, we're on our 14th sellout now at Murrayfield. You look at the way that people are responding also in Glasgow, and people coming back again in Edinburgh as well to watch what Cockett is bringing to Edinburgh. I think you can see that the passion and the buoyancy really of the support for our teams is really high, and that also feeds through into the revenue we've been able to generate again from the stadium. The idea of the Liverpool game as well, which was another way we can demonstrate and showcase BT Murrayfield.
With more revenue, what is it that we can now do at Scottish Rugby?
Well, it's twofold. One is that this year we're going to report that not only we've got record revenues at £61 million, but we're actually debt-free for the first time in a generation. And that's incredibly important. That means that we're in rude financial health, we've got really sustainable future, and that can lead us to looking at ways in which we can solve some of the pretty entrenched problems that are in the community game. It gives us more money, more resource, and more variety of ways in which we can help the grassroots game.
There's always going to be challenges in the game of rugby at home and further afield in the global landscape. But what are some of the challenges that we face kind of closer to home, Mark?
I think it's about participation more than anything else. I mean, the players of today are treating the game in a different way. They're addressing the game in a different way than perhaps we did when we were playing. They tend to play intermittently. They've got the time poor. They've got families to look after. They don't tend to want to travel great distances. They want a different kind of game, if you like, than the one that we've all grown up on. And so what we have to do is to find ways in which we can keep players in the game, retain players in the game at all levels, attract youngsters through the grassroots games as well, even though there are some health and safety fears around concussion and contact. We've got to make sure that we do all that from a playing side, but also try and stimulate the volunteer groups as well, because the volunteers are also finding it more and more difficult to give their time to local rugby clubs. So all this means there's a huge burden and expectation on clubs and officials at the moment that makes their workload really, really hard. So we've got to find ways of making our clubs become real community hubs for the communities they serve.
You've touched on the challenges we face closer to home, Mark, but the global game itself, the game of rugby is changing every year. I guess it's great to see now that we are now part of those discussions and now heavily involved in the direction of the game, aren't we?
Yeah, we spent the last decade really readdressing our role in the global game, making sure that we're more influential and making sure that we have a real seat at the top table. And I think we've achieved that now, and I think that that's ever more represented by the fact that John Jeffrey is now going to be the chairman of the Six Nations, as well as being the chair of the Rugby Committee at World Rugby. Our status has been enhanced, there's no doubt about that. But we've had to earn that. We've had to earn it on the field with the performances that Scotland have put in. We've had to earn it at a professional level with Glasgow and Edinburgh again being seen as being serious contenders both at domestic level and at Europe, and we've also been able to see it off the field with our performance in the commercial areas of sponsorship and ticket sales. We've got a really, really thriving business here, and I think people are taking us much more seriously. But to answer your question more deeply, the global game is changing, and we have no right to full houses. We've no divine right to sponsorship revenue. We're up against lots and lots of other sports who are working equally hard to try and get people to support them and spend money with them and give their time and their emotions to the game. So we're on a never-ending arms race, if you like, with other sports, and we have to make sure that we adapt to be able to compete at the top level of our sport. And that requires sometimes the way we are governed and the way that we're structured.
Back to the pitch, Mark, there's a few mixed performances throughout the year, under 20s and the women as well. What are some of the changes you've had to make for the following season? I
think we're particularly unimpressed with the under 20s performance. I think we had a good group of players there that didn't fulfil their potential, and we're looking at ways in why that happened, and we're also going to address those fundamentally and quickly. In terms of the way we look at our academies and our pathways, I've asked Ben Ryan to come and have a look at this for a review for us, because we're now 5 years into our academies and it's appropriate time for us to look again and maybe look at ways in which our academy can be improved. I'm confident that the academies are producing quality players. What we have to do is find out how we can become more efficient, more potent through that particular avenue, and Ben's going to help us with that. The women's game is improving, even though our results didn't show it. What you've really found is that countries with larger playing bases and more structure around the women's game have actually taken the game further away from us. And what we've got to do is redouble our efforts there. Gemma Fay's working incredibly hard there with our new coach Philip Doyle to make sure that we can start to perform in the way we want to. But that's not going to be an easy fix anytime soon. That's going to be a long haul. Everybody knows that. But we've got incredibly talented and brave and committed players, and I'm convinced that they'll make a difference.
You mentioned Ben Ryan there. A great coup for Scottish Rugby to have somebody of that stature involved. What's it like working with Ben?
I've known Ben for some time now, and as you know, he's the Fiji Olympic winning coach, but he's also a very, very smart guy who's been working with Nike and other top brands around the world, understanding what best practice means in our sport. And so when I asked him in Hong Kong, when I met him, to come and do this review, he was very pleased to do so, and he's doing a very, very thorough job.
Well, just finally, this is all building towards, on an international scale, it's building towards the Rugby World Cup in Japan, which is next month, believe it or not. First and foremost, how much are you excited for the World Cup, not just in Japan, but for Scotland to get going in that? And how excited are you for potentially a great journey for Scotland in that competition?
Well, you're always excited and daunted by the World Cup. You can't wait for it to start, and when you're in the middle of it, you feel like you're in a long campaign. I'm confident that we're sending across Japan probably the strongest and most potent squad that we've ever been able to assemble in the professional era. I think we've got bigger strength in depth. We've got dangerous players. We've got really, really talented coaching group that should get the best out of our players. And I suppose our fate will be determined by potentially our first game against Ireland and our last game against Japan. But we can't take any of those games for granted. But it'll be an incredible spectacle, a fantastic experience for the players and the fans. And more importantly, if you think back to 2015, I think we all break out in the sweat when we think about what happened in the quarter-final end. So there's great drama as well. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. And I think Japan will be a terrific experience, especially given the fact that we've been working since 2015 with our host city that's taken us for our acclimatisation break, which is Nagasaki. The people of Nagasaki have been unbelievably supportive, and they're going to come out in force for that first week when we arrive in Japan.
Mark Dodson, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully get you back on the podcast soon.
I look forward to it, Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. That's all from us this week here on the official Scottish Rugby podcast. We'll be back next week with more exclusive content.